Good evening and welcome. I exist on green screen, how fantastic. So our online polls have closed, the votes are all in. So welcome to the results show for the leadership race 2023. Give us a round of applause. Feel that energy, what I live for, wonderful. And thank you to everybody in our little studio audience here. We have candidates assembled and waiting to find out if they have been elected to be your student leaders and representatives for the next academic year. So I'm certainly very excited. The last 3 days, and to be honest, the last 3 weeks, perhaps beyond the last 3 months even for our candidates, have been a hard slog and an exciting challenge as they've been vowing for your votes. So this evening we're going to be finding out our full-time officer results, but we're also going to be finding out who's been elected to all those other positions throughout the leadership race. But in the studio with me now, we do have some of your full-time officer candidates. So I'm going to look at them now and ask them, how are you all feeling?
Amazing. Really good. Absolutely amazing.
Nervous nods combined with absolutely amazing. So
I feel great.
you feel great. Well, that's good. So Kai feels great. Josh, how about you? How are you feeling? How have you found the last 3 days of campaigning?
Bit tiring. Been out too much.
A bit tiring, getting those steps in.
Yeah.
And for some of our candidates who are here, it's not your first time running in the leadership race. So Alice, you were also a candidate last year. How have you found this year compared to last year's experience?
I've definitely been more confident in myself. So yeah.
Excellent. I would agree from what I've seen. So thank you very much. That was good actually, because they didn't know I was going to ask them that. So we put them on the spot. I think you should give yourself another round of applause. Come on. Yeah! Wow, tingles all over. Wow, fantastic. Now, as well as being here in Stoke on my wonderful green screen, which I'm genuinely enjoying more than I probably should do, we are also hopefully going to be able to cut live to Staffordshire University London over at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, and we should be able to connect there to some assembled students, our wonderful coordinator down there, Dia, and the London candidate for full-time officer, Joseph. So London, it feels like Eurovision now. London, can you hear me? Are you there? How are we feeling? They're definitely there. Thumbs up. We've got a nervous look at Joseph. Can you hear us? We can hear you. We can hear your mic ruffling. How are you feeling?
Got this, okay?
There we go. So yeah, down in London, and they've had other events. We've had a Mario Kart tournament, I think. We've just had some awards down there as well. So Joseph isn't totally on his own. Got a lovely cuddle there from a student friend. So we'll cut back to them perhaps a little bit later in the show. So nerves all round, I think, but everybody seems to be managing them very well indeed. So, just at the start there, I mentioned that the leadership race, of course, isn't just about our full-time officer candidates. We have lots of other positions where all kinds of students are going to be volunteering their time as student leaders across department reps, representative networks, and our student group committee roles as well. So the first part of the results show that actually contains some results is to find out who's been elected across all of those other positions. So let's see if my green screen is as snazzy as I hope it is, and cut to our next slide. Oh, there we go. I should have covered that one earlier. So here's all of our candidates. Look at their lovely smiling faces. You can see in these images here that they don't look as nervous as they just did a moment ago. So they are here with us, some of them, and a little bit later we'll be finding out which of these candidates have been elected to be your full-time officers. There they are. Yeah, a little more nervous this evening than these smiling photos. I honestly can't tell you how much I'm enjoying this. This is like a weatherman childhood dream coming true. But we will now carry on, as I just said, to our hopefully title screen for our committee results. So as I said, we've got department rep roles, representative network committee roles, and our student groups, so societies, and a couple of club committee roles to find out as well. These are a huge part of lots of students' university experience. These are really, really important roles. Pre-grey hair, I remember getting involved in a club and society at university, and it really made my time and my experience and made friends for life. And I'm going to hazard a guess that pretty much all of these candidates who are physically here with me have probably had similar experiences. So without further ado, let's find out who your elected department representatives are. Drum roll, come on, there's a drum roll in the studio. Let's find out. There we go, let's have a round of applause. Congratulations to all of our department representatives. So these students, I'm not going to read out their names, I'm sure you can read at home. It's these students who are going to be representing their peers as student volunteers and leaders for the next academic year. The role that department reps play is absolutely vital. At the end of the show, we're going to find out who your officer team for next year are. But department reps are the connection between the officer team, who take a sabbatical year out from their studies. They are the connection between the officers and all of the course reps. So every single rep in each year of every course, that's a lot of people. So our department reps play a really vital role in connecting all of these people and making sure that student voice is getting fed up to the officers and back across to the university so that change can happen and meaningful action can take place. So hopefully I've filled enough time there so that everybody watching at home has been able to read their name. You may notice that we have a little TBC here next to the computing department rep role. Now, because of how our elections work, and I won't go into very much detail to bore you with, any students can run for multiple roles. So what we actually have is some of our full-time officer candidates have also stood for other roles across committees and department rep positions. So in order to not ruin the suspense or give any suggestion of have I been elected to one or other or both, where we do have a full-time officer candidate who's also run for a different role, I've just added a TBC so we can prolong the tension / torture for the people who are here in the studio with me. So let's have another round of applause for our department representative. And shortly we'll now progress through all of the different student group committee roles. So the next few slides will be presented as a list in alphabetical order. So the student group committee members will be able to read through and hopefully see if they've been elected or not. So give us another drum roll. And let's find out the first batch of people. There we go! Wonderful, give them a round of applause. There we go. So you can see again here we've got the first slide of all of our different student group committee roles who've been elected. Student group committees, as I've said, are a really, really vital part of a lot of students' university experience, their student experience. So it's really, really important that we have students volunteering for these roles. Opportunities for people disappear. Now we've got a couple more of these because there's so many positions. So let's move on to the next one and have another round of applause. There it is. We're now on D through F. So we've got more people elected there. You can see the different roles. We've got manager, finance, comms, and the wellbeing and inclusion role. You can see there that not all societies have every role filled, but that's okay. It's really easy to get involved and lead and run societies and other student groups through your Students' Union, as long as we've got some interest and some student volunteers with drive to make it happen. we will be able to help them fill these other committee roles in time for the start of the next academic year. So for everybody watching at home and waiting to see whether their name appears on here, whether you're through D to F, congratulations again. And we will now move on to, I think, our third and final slide of those people who've been elected to student group committees. There they are. Give them another round of applause. So there we go. We've got G through to P, and actually I've just remembered that there is one more that we're going to look at. And you can also see, as we move through these, you can see the huge variety that we've got in these societies. Project Earth as an environmental sustainability focused group, all the way through to games development that does a lot of crossover work with the kind of stuff that our games students are going to be studying as well. So there really is something for everybody, and also as a student who maybe is considering running a society or starting a society, if you don't see something that tickles your fancy, you can start your own group. So there's always room for more people to get involved and join the fun. So now we'll move to our final slide, and we'll give them another big round of applause as they appear. Or maybe a drum roll. There they are, give a round of applause. There we go. So we've got P there through to Y for Yu-Gi-Oh! And what's that? Well, you're a very good studio audience. It's like being on Soccer AM or whatever. It's very exciting.
Yeah!
There you go. He knows. There you go. So there we go. There's the final slide of all of those students who've been elected to student group committee roles. So hopefully those of you who've been watching at home, tuning in from London, watching from the LRV, shout out to LRV and the We Are Staffs Awards attendees who are waiting for that event to start just after this one. Congratulations to all of you who've been elected, and a brief note on also those of you who haven't been successful in your elections. As I said to all of our officer candidates in the room with me, in any election you're always going to have more people who have nominated themselves, and unfortunately therefore more people who are going to be disappointed than roles available. Now, it's really important to recognise that even if you've been unsuccessful in your election, putting your name down to stand in an election is quite an unusual and brave thing to do, as all of our candidates here know. So I want to say well done. Even if you didn't get elected this time, that doesn't mean anything stops. You can still get just as involved in the Students' Union, and there's always another opportunity to find another role. So congratulations again for a final time. Let's give them a round of applause as we move to the next section. Well done. There we go. So now we're still prolonging the tension. So before we get on to announcing the results for those people who've been elected to your full-time officer for the next academic year, don't worry, I'll come to that now.
You don't matter then.
So, thank you. So I'm going to have a quick chat with the current officer team, and you'll notice there on my little image it says your second year officers. So there are obviously 4 full-time officer positions held each year. And there's only 3 people on the screen, and that's because Len, who is part of the current team, is also one of our is also one of our candidates this evening. So I'm going to let him stew for a little bit longer and just have a chat with Hannah, Choto and Hayden. So, to your current second year officers, how are you feeling tonight? Are you okay? You're all looking very dapper. Ready for the awards later.
This is the most relaxed I've ever been around leadership race season.
Well, that was the first question I was going to ask. So, all of you, but obviously Hannah included in that. So this is your second year as an officer. So obviously none of you are able to rerun. How did you feel last year and the year before when you were in these guys' shoes? How does that feel, being a candidate waiting to find out if you've been elected?
I felt sick. I'm going to be honest. Because I think you care so much about it, like it becomes like a huge thing. So I felt so sick, like I was so scared I wasn't going to get it like both years.
So what would your kind of tips in the last few minutes before these guys find out? What would your tips for them be?
I would personally say just absorb it, literally take it all in, because even if you don't get in, and you might decide next year, regardless, it's a great experience. Just take it in as much as you can.
Solid advice. I'd agree with that. And Choto,
yeah, what I can say about that is to you guys, don't see it as a step back, just see it as a development opportunity to move forward, and it's a good experience for you guys. Obviously, just don't do me and just sitting around the corner and wait for results. Just actually, one step ahead of me. You're actually here, actually waiting to the results, and good luck to you guys. Honestly, you guys deserve it. So yeah, good luck.
thank you, Chat. It's really lovely. And obviously, Choto, you helped out a lot with the Q&A events, which I'm sure a lot of people who are watching now watched as well. And part of that was you doing your homework and going through everybody's manifestos. So what stood out to you? You know, as somebody who's done the role for 2 years, when you look through all of the candidates' manifestos, was there anything that stood out to you particularly?
Yeah, I was surprised. It's interesting, very interesting. Well, I'm genuinely surprised, and looking at all the topics that everyone's chose to run on for, like inclusion, diversity, safety. These are all current things which is all students across the country nationally are facing, especially with the NUS campaigning on them. And it's good to know that everyone's on the right track. So was very pleased to see everyone actually campaigning for the right reasons to get the best for students and staffs and actually for nationally as well.
Oh, that's really good to hear from somebody who's done it for 2 years. That's really positive. And I guess what we also do at the Students' Union is for whoever is elected, the 4 students who get elected into the full-time officer roles, in terms of all those other manifestos that the other candidates have worked on, they don't just disappear into the ether. So we still look at all of those ideas, collect them together, and the elected team will still use them and consider them. Because obviously everybody's got votes, so there's a mandate and interest across the board. So to reassure all of you, it doesn't just disappear. Even if you're not elected this evening, your manifesto legacy will live on in that sense. Hayden, finally, before we move to the results and the thing that everybody really wants to know. So you are the current officer team, Len included, but not on the sofa now. And although the results announcement is this evening, your guys' term in office doesn't finish until July. So there's still a couple of months left to go. What's left for those couple of months for the current officer team?
What isn't left? I think, you know, we've always got a lot of stuff we're doing, whether that's our manifestos we ran on last year, and again, as you said, everyone else's manifesto that added towards that, or it's day-to-day kind of immediate things we want to help students with. But I'll say probably definitely the key priorities we want for the last 2 months. 2 months realistically is not a very long time, so a bit of a heads up to you guys. And probably, you know, that being said, there's been already a lot of great successes like Choto's cost of living efforts, Hannah successfully launching that period poverty campaign.
On Wednesday.
Yeah, on Wednesday. So, you know, you might have seen some on campus. I've just sent myself to university some harm reduction stuff. Actually, I was helping some students about an hour before I got here. But probably collaboratively is looking at how we can support the new officer team in. How they can start off hit the ground running. What can we do best to prepare them as they start in July?
Excellent. Yeah, plenty more to come from the current team, so that's really positive. Thank you all very much for joining us. I know that today's been a very busy day for everybody, and certainly all of you 3 are involved in presenting more awards across different events that are happening this evening. So I think you need to dash off right now. So let's give the current team a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Yeah! Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you, Hannah. Me too, Hayden. Love you guys.
Excellent, thank you to the current team. Enthusiastic thanks there from our assembled candidates, which is really encouraging to see. So now we're getting to the moment. It has arrived. I think it's time to find out who's been elected as your 2023-2024 academic year full-time officer team. So I think we've got a holding slide first. Will I give a bit more spiel about the full-time officer results? There it is. So what we will do, we will announce who's been elected to be part of your full-time officer team in no particular order. For those candidates who've been elected, it's your opportunity to come forward and join us on the sofa and sit where Hayden, Hannah and Choto just were. And we'll get a few words from you at the end, if you can manage them, if you're not overcome with joy and elation. Now, before I get on to those results, what we will be announcing this evening is who makes up that 4-person officer team. Our elections are a little bit different because our officer roles are a little bit different. So at your Students' Union here at Staffs, we have a team of 3 vice presidents and 1 president. We don't have titles for our officers, as a lot of other students' unions do, and therefore the way that our election works is also a little bit different. So we'll announce the 4 students who've been elected. In terms of finding out who president is, that position is offered to the candidate with the highest mandate. They can take some time to consider that, and it will be announced later next week. So as I said, what you're about to see is announced in no particular order. Are you ready? Are you excited? Give yourself another
I'm so ready,
drum roll.
Jamie. Go on, let's do
Here we go. So, without further ado, let's find out who your first full-time officer for the next academic year is. It's Farhan Sabir. So let's have a round of applause for Farhan. There we go. So, congratulations to Farhan. Now, unfortunately, because of unforeseen circumstances, Farhan is not able to join us this evening, so there's going to be 1 space on the sofa there. But many congratulations to him. He'll be catching, he's not actually able to even watch the stream live this evening, but he will be catching up soon, and I'm sure checking social media. So, congratulations to Farhan. And therefore we'll move on to announcing the next successful candidate for full-time officer. So let's have another drum roll, please, if we could, candidates. And that's congratulations to Len Stewart. So congratulations, Len. And Len is about to come forward and take a seat. We'll announce the other roles first, so you can gather your thoughts and feelings for a few moments. That's great. Congratulations to Len. We'll come to you in a minute. A brief sigh of relief. So yes, congratulations Len. We'll talk to you in a second. So let's have another drum roll for our next full-time officer candidate. And that's Oluyemi Ajiteru. Now, unfortunately, Oluyemi is also not able to join us this evening, so that's another space on the sofa. But congratulations to him, and again, hopefully he may be watching live from where he is at the moment. So let's have a round of applause for Oluyemi. There we go. And for your final candidate, I'm really glad about the drum roll thing. We didn't plan or rehearse that, but it's quite fun. So let's have a final drum roll for your 4th and final full-time officer candidate. And that is Joseph Knight, who hopefully we can cut in London. There he is. So big celebrations down there in London.
Go!
Huge!
There we go. Incentives, there we go. Welcome to Joseph. There we go. So congratulations to Joseph down in London. If his microphone survived that, we will cut to you. We will cut to you in a moment, Joseph. So while we talk to Len, try and have a deep breath and recover from that crush that you just experienced, and try and find a bit of quiet space that we can talk to you in a second. But if we come back to the studio here and zoom in on Len on the sofa as one of our successful candidates who's able to join us. There he is. So Len, have you just breathed a big sigh of relief?
Yeah.
And how does that feel? Obviously, you've been here before because you're part of the current team. How does that compare to last year in terms of getting elected again?
I think there's a bit more pressure on it as a returning officer. Yeah.
I mean, don't beat yourself up. Take a minute to enjoy it. You've just been re-elected. Fantastic. So, are you looking forward, therefore, to heading over to our different awards events this evening and being able to meet some students?
Yeah. I need to go and find what I'm meant to be saying, but yeah.
I think if there was ever an excuse to maybe not have your thoughts collected when you go over to present an award later, this is quite a good one, so I wouldn't worry about that.
I'm going to pretend those London cheers are for me.
Well, on that note, let's give Len another round of applause. Well done, Len. There you go. Let's go! Now, hopefully, Joseph is no longer being...
Not right.
So hopefully Joseph is no longer being rugby tackled and cajoled. So we'll cut back to London and hopefully his mic's still working. And we'll ask Joseph, how are you feeling?
Honestly, if you could hear the cheers, that would basically say it. It's not just me feeling great right now, it's everyone else who's voted for me, everyone else who's got every single person they can to vote for me on this campus. I owe them all so many drinks tonight. So many drinks. That's why. So many drinks tonight. I hope to see a lot of change next year. Whilst I am on the London campus, I am, voted in to help everyone on the campus feel like they're going to Staffordshire, not just a separate campus.
That's fantastic to hear. And already yawning. The exhaustion is already too much. So congratulations to you, Joseph. Obviously, the London site where Staffordshire University also teaches lots of very happy students at the minute is still quite a new venture. So Joseph will be our first ever sabbatical officer elected from London. So let's have another round of applause in the studio for Joseph. There we go. So the results have been announced. Obviously, this is live stream, but will be available on YouTube to revisit and watch back. And for anybody who hasn't been able to watch live, hello from the past. You'll be going back over this, I'm sure, to see who's been elected. So before we close the show, there's just two more things left to do. And the first thing, which I know I've kind of already mentioned, is to say a huge commiserations, but also congratulations to all of the candidates who weren't elected this evening. I know I said this a little bit earlier, but it is weird and unusual and nerve-wracking to put yourself out there in an election, particularly for full-time officer position, because your faces are literally plastered everywhere. So I want to say a huge congratulations. I know you'll be disappointed this evening, but for those of you who are continuing your studies, the opportunities don't end and close. So I very much still look forward to working with all of you next year if you're continuing your studies. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. And I think we have got another slide to flick to the whole team. The final thing that I wanted to say is a huge, huge thank you. So thank you to all of our candidates across all positions. Thank you to the whole staff team at the Students' Union for helping to make the elections happen. A massive thank you to Staffs TV for hosting all of the events. So they need a round of applause, absolutely. Fantastic. It's a massive thank you to them, and also a thank you to every single one of our students who voted. We had over 1,500 students vote in this year's election, which is a bigger turnout than last year. So thank you for using your voice, thank you for engaging, and I hope to see some of you as candidates in the leadership race next time. We're now going to round off. We're going to close off the show. I think most of us are running over to Sports Awards, and we are Staffs Awards to enjoy hopefully a fun evening. Your union reminds you to drink responsibly, by the way, following Joseph's comments in London. So thank you again to everybody. Happy leadership race. And me as the election person, I will see you again, I'm sure, unfortunately, in front of a camera next year. So big round of applause for everybody, and see you soon. Thank you very much.